All right, so if you're a university student in Ethiopia trying to get through your thesis, you've definitely heard one name over and over again, Kothari. I mean, this book isn't just a suggestion, it's basically a required reading. So what's the big deal? Why is it so important? Well, we're going to break down the entire roadmap that C.R. Kothari lays out in his research methodology.
For so many BA and MBA students, this book is more than just a textbook. It's a total lifeline. Seriously, it's earned the nickname the Research Bible. And for a really simple reason, it perfectly matches the exact structure and the kind of logic your professors and university guidelines are looking for. You could say it's the key that unlocks the whole thesis process.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, Kothari starts you off by making you draw the map before you even think about taking that first step. These first few chapters, they're all about building that solid, unshakable foundation that's going to support your entire project.
Right out of the gate, in Chapter 1, Kothari clears up something that confuses a ton of students. What's the real difference between methods and methodology? Think of it this way. Methods are your tools. That's the how you're going to do your research. But your methodology, that's the strategy. That's the why. See, it's not enough to just say, oh, I used a survey. You have to be able to argue why a survey was the absolute best tool for your specific research question.
And what's great is that Kothari lays out the entire journey in one super clear, logical path. This is your project's blueprint, right here. Every single step, from figuring out your initial problem all the way to writing up your final findings, it's all broken down. It takes this huge, overwhelming task of writing a thesis and somehow makes it feel completely manageable.
So, you've got your map. Now what? Well, now you need to start assembling your toolkit. This next part is all about getting the right equipment. It's about learning the techniques for sampling and measurement so you can gather your evidence like a real scientist. And one of the most important tools is sampling. I mean, you can't interview every single person in a city, right? So how do you choose who to talk to? Chapter 4 breaks this down beautifully. Are you going to use random sampling to try and get a really accurate, broad picture? Or maybe you'll use convenience sampling, like surveying students right on your campus, because it's just more practical. Kothari gives you the logic to choose your path and then defend that choice.
And speaking of tools, you are going to see this one everywhere, especially if you're in business or social sciences. The Likert scale, that classic strongly agree to strongly disagree format, it's pretty much the #1 way to measure what people think and feel. Kothari basically gives you a masterclass in how to build one and use it to get data you can actually trust.
All right, you've got your map, you've got your tools. Now it's time for the real adventure, the field work. This is where you get your hands dirty and actually go out and gather all that raw information that's going to become the heart and soul of your thesis.
Kothari lays out your main options pretty clearly. Are you after hard numbers and stats? Well, structured questionnaires are probably your best bet. Are you trying to get deep, personal stories? Then you're going to want to do some in-depth interviews. Chapter 6 is all about helping you match the perfect data collection method to your specific research problem.
But your work isn't done once you have all the answers. Nope. Chapter 7 covers this super important but often forgotten step, processing. This is where you clean up, code, and organize all that raw information, turning what's basically a messy pile of answers into a clean data set that's ready for software like SPSS or even just Excel.
This is it. This is the climax of your whole research journey. After all that prep, all that work, this is where you finally get to test your big ideas and uncover the answers your study was designed to find. This is the analytical engine room of your thesis.
Now, don't let the technical names freak you out. Kothari makes these powerful tools seem incredibly simple. A t-test, for example, it's just a way to see if there's a real, significant difference between the averages of two groups. Like, are male employees and female employees equally satisfied with their jobs? A t-test can help you figure that out. Okay, so what if you're comparing more than two groups? Let's say you want to test how well 3 different advertising campaigns worked. Well, that's where ANOVA comes in. It's basically the same idea as a t-test, but for multiple groups. Kothari gives you the logic so you know exactly which tool you're supposed to use and when. It's that simple. So you've done the work, you've found the answers. The final challenge is just telling that story in a clear, professional way. This last section is all about being your guide to crafting a final report that really does justice to all the hard work you put in.
And honestly, Kothari's Chapter 14 gives you the perfect template for success. It lays out the exact structure your university is expecting. It covers everything. The preliminary pages like your abstract and table of contents, the main body of your research, and of course the super important bibliography and appendices at the end.
So
Really, what makes this one book so essential? It's pretty simple. First, it lines up perfectly with your university's curriculum. Second, the language is clear, it's accessible, and maybe most importantly, it gives you the statistical reasoning you need to confidently stand up and defend your methodology to your advisors. It's practically tailor-made for your success.
At the end of the day, Kothari doesn't just give you a bunch of instructions. He gives you a complete map. He takes a process that can feel so overwhelming and just turns it into a series of logical, achievable steps. The path is all laid out for you, so the only question left is, are you ready to take that first step